3 things that you can do to double revenue in 90 days. Let's go. What's up, FlowChat fam? Hey, Chris here, CEO and co-founder of FlowChat, bringing real entrepreneurs that are getting real results. And today are more results coming at you all the way from Austria. Hey, listen, if it's working all the way on the other side of the world or vice versa, then you know it's good. And so you want to lean into today's episode because he hasn't done this just for himself or 10 or 20 other clients. I don't even actually know the total number, but I know it's a lot, including, like you just saw on the other side, John Lee Dumas. There is the top of the top that today's guest has worked with, and he gets results time and time again. And today we get to jump in to the 3 things that are going to help you double revenue in the next 90 days. Hey, Simon, I appreciate you coming on today.
Hey, Chris, thanks for having me. Hello, everyone.
Yeah. And man, I just said today, but I guess I should say tonight. He informed me that it's like after 8 o'clock already over there, and he was saving the best for last. We were talking about just before jumping on. And hey, so I'm excited. Let's jump right into the 3 things, and then everyone stay tuned because you're gonna want to hear Simon's backstory of how he built his business and his journey through all this. It's gonna blow you away. But you got my attention, Simon. What are the 3 things that are gonna help us double revenue?
This is what everybody wants to know, so let's jump into it right straight away.
Yeah.
I learned this from my mentor, Jay Abraham, that if you just focus on 3 things that you can increase realistically by 25% in quite a short time, and we have managed to reduce the time to 90 days because we only do that. We do nothing else. So it's now 21 years, every day sales coaching, and I do nothing else than focusing on these 3 things when I coach business owners. The 3 things, I can even show them here in a little visual. If you can increase by 25% the price that you are charging for your current product or service, increase by 25% your win rate. So same amount of conversations per week, but you close 25% more. And the frequency of your deals. And you have 2 options to increase the frequency of your deals. Either at the beginning of the funnel by shortening the sales time. You can do that with what we call an RBS, a relationship building system. So by creating more touch points at the beginning in a higher frequency, so that when they land on your call, they're 80% ready to buy. Or you can do it in the upsell and cross-sell region, meaning you work on retaining the client longer and expanding the work, maybe even adding services or products to that journey. So these 3 things, if we improve each by 25%, which is absolutely realistic in 90 days with our tools, then you have actually increased revenue by 99% because it compounds. And 99%, you have almost doubled revenue.
Well, I think what's really powerful immediately about this to me is Jay Abraham, great person to listen to, study, and be mentored by. So that's awesome. But I recall him speaking of these things. The amount somebody is paying, so price per deal, the number of clients, always increasing the number of clients, and the frequency of when someone's paying or what they're paying is important. But what you've done is break down. Okay, cool, we know the answer to the test, but you've clearly gone into more detail with, well, here's strategies that we implement on each of them. Additionally, here is the outcome that each of these strategies need to create, i.e. 25%. And that is mathematically going to double sales. So I appreciate you just sharing this already, because usually it's just, a headline. It's like, okay, cool, here's the promise, let's see if it happens. But you can clearly see there's not guesswork here. Is it cool if we go into a couple of these while we're here?
Yes, pick your favorites. And by the way, versus the end of this, I will even tell people where they can download many of them for free.
That is a huge gift. I appreciate that. So let's start with shortening the sales cycle. So I know anyone listening, watching, hey, if your sales cycle is 30 days or 20 days, but we can cut that in half. I was curious what, your RBS system, or what are some of your best practices that you've been implementing that, in fact, shorten the sales cycle?
Oh, the RBS is one of my favorite tools. So this I learned from from one partnership and from one team of coaches. The team of coaches, they were specialized just on email marketing, and they found a completely fresh way of doing it that totally inspired me. And I worked with them for 12 months on improving my own email series.
Mm.
And what happened, so we would send 12 emails in the first 12 days, and we obsessed with A/B tests on really making them, increasing the open rate and the click rate as much as possible.
Okay.
So we got to an open rate that was above 70% for
Wow.
all 12, which is amazing.
Yeah.
In my industry, consulting industry, I can't remember the average, but I think the average open rate is around 20%, and the average click rate is somewhere around 2%. Our click rate is 16% still today, and our open rate is now even above 80%.
Wow.
So the email series is one thing that you can do to shorten the sales time. And the reason is the beginning is not as linear as many think. You think, okay, it takes, in a high ticket sales situation, it takes 15 valuable experience, 15 contact points, positive contact points before they trust you.
Yeah.
And so this means it takes months. But what if you can create those 15 things in 12 days? And so I became creative, and I said, what if one email sends them to LinkedIn and there is a video there for them, but automatically we connect on LinkedIn. And the next day, the video sends them to YouTube. So they subscribe to my YouTube channel. And then the next day, I send them a checklist. So now they have experienced me in a Google Doc. And so by creating those 12 things, you create a spider web. Now, when they relax in the evening and they go, okay, enough work, let's chill, let's go to YouTube and look something fun. Well, guess who pops up on YouTube? On their iPad, on the couch. And then there is Simon again with a 10 minutes video. So you can create a ton of experiences with you. And if they are valuable, now these emails, they will get them on your calendar. That's the idea. Email 8, 9, 10. They say, all right, let's jump on a call. You know enough now to start working. Let's start working. Let's start with half an hour. Let me find 3 ways you can increase your win rate. And maybe I can do that in half an hour, maybe not. Let's find out.
Yeah.
So hop on a call with me. That's the end of the email series, gets them on the calendar. And so this is one example of an RBS, a relationship building sequence that says, okay, how can you create 12 to 15 valuable moments of insight, of aha, of delight, of surprise, of positive excitement, so that the next day, if you wouldn't send them an email, they would go, oh my God, where is my Simon email today?
Yeah.
If you can create that, when they land on your calendar, they are now 80% ready to buy. So you probably have reduced your sales time by a factor of a quarter, maybe even you have cut it in half.
Love it. Okay, so 2 immediate takeaways from here. One is, hey, you got to build some infrastructure, but that's one of the 4 C's of leverage. It's content. You can build email, you can build video, you can build social asset, LinkedIn or other profiles. And the sequence of communication via email is drawing them in this spider web. You got them surrounded, basically. And so, that might feel overwhelming to some, but how are they experiencing you? How are they experiencing your product or service? What is the customer journey you're asking them to go on? And when what I hear you saying, Simon, is when we mindfully craft that, because if we don't, they still have one. And the question is, what is it? But if we mindfully craft that, not only is it going to help us go towards doubling revenue in 90 days, but it's going to be, that infrastructure that is consistent with our brand and creates a lot of momentum for us going forward. The second thing is, you said 12 days of emails and you worked on that for 12 months. There's so many conversations we've had. Well, I tried it for a week, or, oh, you tried it for a month. This is something that you focused on and iterated on for 12 months. That is well beyond like an average test of a campaign. And so I think there's a lot of merit behind that is really valuable. I mean, for me to just keep hearing, and anyone listening, watching. Iterate. Find the right thing, trust it, go deep, and make it great. That's what I heard. And I think the results speak for themselves. 70 to 80% open rate is insane. That's very high. Creating that delight effect with the content you're delivering. Go ahead.
That was the first year. In the second year, then we continued with the A/B testing. So if the open rate wasn't high enough, I would test a new subject line. We found out the shorter, the better. We found out specific words and a specific 2-word combination and 3 words combination that had stellar results. We kept them. And we killed the losers. So everything that had a lower open rate, we just deleted it. And we had every 14 days, we had a 1-hour session. We called it the RBS refinement session. We would go over those emails and kill the 10% losers. So they either had
and this
a
was
low
an internal
open rate.
hour. That was an internal hour.
An internal hour. Just
Yeah.
my team, the 3 of us. 3 of us looking over the RBS, quickly triaging three metrics: open rate, click rate, unsubscribe rate.
Okay.
If something had an unsubscribe rate of 3% or above, that would be a loser, immediately killed. If something had an open rate lower than the others, let's say 60%, 50%, 40%, killed. If it had a click rate lower than the others, immediately deleted. And by elimination, and only the winners stayed in there. We are now in the 7th year of running that RBS.
Yeah.
And now it's 500 emails in 600 days.
Wow. Holy cow.
There
Say
are
that
people
again? How many?
Yes, it's 500 emails in 600 days. There are people that are getting emails from me since 600 days.
Oh my gosh.
And when I meet them, they go, Simon, the email that you sent me yesterday. And I say, oh, it really spoke to me. And I say, which one? And they go, you don't know which email? I say, no, I wrote it 600 days ago.
I have no idea.
They have no idea. It speaks to them. So that's a good email. And I just add some. So I run every day. And sometimes while I'm running, I get an idea. I get something to share, something valuable. Then I stop running. I come back home and I write the next email. And that goes into the RBS. And every 14 days, it might get killed if it's not working. If it's working, it stays there.
Love it. Love it. Okay, so this is something you've continued to feed, build, iterate on. You know, an analogy that really helped me with these type of systems, imagine having, a sales pro in your business. And this is for anyone listening, watching. And wouldn't it be cool? Imagine that if you haven't experienced this yet, you wake up and you have someone handling all the sales and sales are closing and you weren't a part of the process. There's, the first time you go through that, it's an awesome feeling and you never want to go back. Even with all the ups and downs in management and different leadership skills that need to be acquired in order to make that a reality, you're like, it's worth it. And so when that takes place, that what Simon's describing is no different. When you take the time to build and iterate on this system and this infrastructure, it's that sales pro or that marketing pro that's having that same conversation that you've had with the same energy over and over and over and over and over again while you're doing whatever else you're doing. And so once I kind of was able to see it the way Simon's describing it so well, I'm like, okay, it's worth the investment of not only building, but refining and making a very quality experience and quality content. So I appreciate you sharing that, Simon, and going through some of this. You said that you can make this available somehow. If someone wants to study this a little bit more, how can they get a hold of it?
Yeah, so many of our tools are openly available at strategysprints.com. And then you click tools. So it's strategysprints.com.
Well, let's go there.
And there is a section called tools. If you click tools, it's right there in the middle.
Okay, right here. Okay, cool. Tools.
And there are dozens of.
Oh my gosh, we just opened Pandora's box, Simon.
The strategic value, for example, the strategic value is it answers for you the question, okay, when people buy from me, what do they actually buy? And you see 6 questions. It's like a labyrinth. You start from the outside, question 1, you answer that, and you move to the second question. And in the end, you are in the center. After you answered question number 6, you know exactly what people are actually buying when they buy your services or offer or product. Because many don't know it. They think, oh, they buy my software. No, they never buy a software. They always buy something that is a solution to their problem. And sometimes we don't know it. If we don't know it, that's one of the root causes why we cannot charge high prices or retain them long or close them quickly. Because if we know that, everything else becomes easier. So these 6 questions takes you around 25 minutes. And you have a much higher clarity on what people are actually buying when they buy from you. So you can improve your offer, you can improve your pricing, and you can improve your closing rate just by doing this first exercise. And there are, I think, 20 more on this page.
It's so true on the solution. If any, business owner, entrepreneurs listening to this, it's like, think about what you buy. You don't want another system or how to or figure this out and then maybe you'll get nobody wants to buy, including us, wants to buy that. They want to buy confidence. They want to buy a solution that's going to help them get to where they want to go, and they're parting with their money because they believe you or your product and service has a higher likelihood to get them there than what they can do on their own. And these are brilliant questions to help evoke that thinking and that direction. So this is awesome. You guys, so strategysprints.com. Thank you for making these available, Simon. I love, this is so cool. I like that you got opt-in on each of them. Innovation card, prioritization card, evolution card. Daily, this looks like there's a lot of stuff here, guys. So go check this out. We're not going to make Simon go one by one through all these today, but you can go to strategysprints.com /tools and access some of these. And so I'm sure in opting in that you have some RBS happening. So for future communication, you got 600 500 emails, value.
600 days. So you will learn. You will learn a lot about emails too.
Yeah. You'll be introduced to his LinkedIn and YouTube. And while we're here, your YouTube channel.
It's Simon Severino.
Simon, and spell your last name. Oh, there it is.
Severino.
Okay, cool. So we got right here, sales coach. Bam. And epic. I don't know if everyone can hear this because it's in my headphones, but epic music on the intro here. Simon Severino, and some great content. Looks like thumbnails are on point. This is awesome. Cool. Yeah. So great resources. I appreciate you making these available to us. Okay.
I
Oh, go ahead.
I share one video per week on the Simon Severino channel, and usually is one thing that I fucked up in sales and
Yeah.
what I learned from it, and how you can save your time and money by doing it better. So the first part is usually Simon is losing a deal, or Simon is getting ghosted. Simon has forgotten to call somebody back who is in the pipeline and should be. For example, I lost 600K. This is literally where I am losing deals, and I'm showing my pipeline and how I'm losing those deals. They are right there for me to grab, but I managed to lose them because of poor communication, too late of a follow up, not calling them back, badly managed CRM. So all the real stuff that happens in entrepreneurship. And so I want to show that we are all not perfect, and this is a roller coaster being an entrepreneur and scaling a business, and and nobody gets it right all the time. And so I start with something that's not going well. I show them how I
Hmm.
lose a deal, and then also how I learn from that, how I track that, how I create a system that makes sure it never happens again. And then the solution is usually something they can implement immediately.
So some frameworks to apply. Very powerful. Very powerful. What I'd like to do is get into some of your story, Simon. So you clearly have you're bringing up the right tactics. You're mentioning the right KPIs and things to measure and track in a business that lead to success. When you know the answers and do the real work, there's no guesswork in business. Business is a systematic way of delivering a product and service. And so anyone that studies the game or business knows what you're mentioning is right on point. But how did you get there? How did you discover that those were the answers and, be able to create success for yourself and those around you? Where did it start?
One failure after the other, I would say. One,
That is the right answer. Thank you for watching. So did you start in sales?
no. So that was the first failure. I didn't even learn the right things.
Okay.
In my 20s, I didn't even learn the right things. I studied philosophy. I majored in philosophy
Okay.
and psychology.
Oh, okay.
So probably the worst thing you can do with your life is studying something that is so generic that afterwards you don't even know what to do with it. So that was my 20s.
Mm,
Then for some reason there was a decade where the big consultancies were very interested in alumnus that had a 1.0, a excellent scores, independently of what they were majoring in.
mm,
And so now also all the other guys like me had a chance of being in a top team of the top 5 strategy advisories. And so that was my ticket to enter. I had excellent scores in my nerdy
field
philosophy
and
degree,
okay.
but it was top scores, so they were interested and said, maybe he can think, maybe he can solve problems, maybe he can articulate solutions. And so they gave me a chance. I used this little chance that I had, and I climbed up the ladder very quickly. Every year I would jump one level,
Mm,
and then uh, I went on my own and created strategy sprints. And now it's 21 years of just doing this one thing, only go
wow.
to market consulting, which became then one-on-one coaching and is now available also to solopreneurs and small teams. But I've focused down. So the failures were usually when I was too generic.
Mm,
So 20 years ago, Simon would do for you a full go to market implementation for BMW, for Boehringer Ingelheim, and also for McDonald's. Now, every year, I managed to niche down a little bit, to niche down the topic, niche down the problems that I solve, and year by year. So when you as an entrepreneur hear, oh, you should niche down, I know how hard it feels. It is not easy, and it
mm,
will not happen at the beginning. don't think that you can start by niching. It's usually too hard. It's easier to start with just whatever works and then month by month niching it down. Because as soon as you know, okay, I am good with a B2B sales problem in the financial services, then you can niche it down to that with confidence. And so it took me many years to niche down to only solving the high ticket B2B sales for teams that are doing 35K per month and want to get to 70K per month in 90 days. Now it's quite specific,
Yeah.
but it took me many years of niching it down bit by bit. And that was a de-risked process. I never had a bad year in terms of turnover because I never had to make drastic changes. I was only slightly reducing. So by elimination, like my RBS process, just A/B testing. And when you find something that works, reduce it down to that one thing.
Mm-hmm.
That was my process. It might take longer, but I was bootstrapped all the time. I never had anybody deciding into what I do. So it's fully bootstrapped, quite de-risked, quite resilient. I never was worried over the last decades. Uh, Also, in very tough years like the pandemic, we were always very profitable.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one way of scaling a business in a bootstrapped way, of just A/B testing, and whenever it clicks, you niche it down.
Simon, what you're describing, a very very short version of the story. We were, my business partner and I were fishing with all these other entrepreneurs in Alaska, and this is a few years ago. But about half of the group of entrepreneurs were running multiple 8-figure businesses, and the other half were running multiple 7-figure businesses. And there's a very distinct difference between the two groups. You would think that the multiple 8-figure per year in sales businesses would have more stress, would have more pressure, would have more responsibility. They were the most present ones. They had more, and how they even approached fishing, like we start on a skiff, like a small boat with one line. But just watching how some of them, it was their first time fishing in that type of environment. And by like day 2, day 3, they had a bigger boat, 4 lines. They had this new app that calculates the fish's morning routine on, they know like mid lunch, they're going to throw in a sausage, or we don't fish with it. Anyway, you do see what I'm saying? Like the level of focus on accomplishing the mission was clearly higher than the other group of the multi 7-figure, businesses. Unfortunately, I was in the latter group, the 7-figure, who was observing this next level that I want to get in rooms of people that are ahead of me. And this is something that I was learning and observing in that moment. And so what you're describing is focus. And that does take time. And it's not about doing more. It's actually about doing less, but doing it way, way, way better. So I really appreciate that story you were sharing, but you got my curiosity. So before all the focus stuff, let's go back to the beginning where you're like figuring it out and you're working. I think there's a lot, most agency owners, business owners, entrepreneurs that are listening and watching to this content there's things from like corporate world that we can pull, best practices that have been established over hundreds of years that can be pulled into, our worlds and our smaller businesses. So when you mentioned McDonald's, when BMW, those projects to, I'm sure there's some feature or product that needs to be brought to market as you were describing, and you have to solve this problem. Walk us through that. How did you solve that problem?
Each of those problems, I had to find a path for a solution because there was none. All of them had a highly competitive situation, and they were either the market leader and they had number 2 and number 3 very aggressively attacking their margins and their markets,
Yeah.
which is a tough situation to be in, or they were number two and wanted to eat the lunch of number one. And so it was always highly competitive, and there was no clear linear path. What I learned there is, instead of figuring out the solution, build the process that will let the solution emerge. So, first thing that I changed because it wasn't working was the traditional way of running projects.
How did you know it
And this is,
wasn't working? What wasn't working that you saw? Because that's the
you,
problem.
know, you would see it in the results. It took months. Traditional project management has like 7 flaws.
Hmm.
It takes too long. It's not in your control. You have surprises instead of outcomes, and it's always too late, and it's always over budget. That's traditional project management. So, first thing that we eliminated was no milestones anymore. There is only one big goal,
Mm.
and there are weekly sprints. There is nothing in between.
Interesting. Okay.
Cycles of 90 days, that's 12 sprints, 12 attacks on 12 bottlenecks. There is always one bottleneck.
Mm.
And so the bottleneck is the weakest part. If you improve that, the overall throughput is higher. This is something that you can learn from the big companies because they have a tradition of having 10 years of lean consultants in-house. And so the first thing that I learned from them is how to find the bottleneck. And a bottleneck can be attacked in 3 to 5 days. So I said, okay, let's do it sprints of 7 days. Monday, bottleneck identification, then A/B tests, attacking it until Thursday. On Thursday, we review. On Friday, we decide.
Interesting.
That
Very cool
became
process.
a process in cycles. So even if you don't know how to become the McDonald's of fishing, for example,
Yeah.
I don't know, but I can tell you that if that's the goal and I have 12 chances of attacking it, I can tell you exactly how we're going to attack it. I know what we will be doing on Monday. I know what we will be measuring on Thursday. And I know how to facilitate the deciding meeting on Friday. So that was the process. That's it. And I went to all these different problems with the same process. And then sometimes solutions emerged. Those solutions I would save. It was usually a Google Doc or a spreadsheet. And so I would save the spreadsheet. Now, 10 years later, I had a toolbox of 274 things that worked multiple times in different situations. And I was like, hey, this is working. We should set this on repeat. So it became a so-called module. And we started structuring it, the sales modules, the marketing modules, the operations modules.
Got it.
And now we had 3 very powerful toolboxes to solve the marketing problems, the sales problems, the operations problems. And that became the Sprint University that now our clients have access to. And this is why I can so easily share tools. And many people ask me, but Simon, you're giving away your core IP and your knowledge. And I say, yeah, but we have 274 of them. And by the time they copy this, we work in sprints. We work in 7 days. By the time they copy this stuff is already innovated so much more. So the sprint, if you have a good execution system, people can steal your strategy. They will never catch up with the quality of your work because your execution system is still number one.
Yeah. Yeah. What you're saying is, I'm recalling a Tony Robbins interview that I saw, and he describes a time where a guy comes up to him and he says, hey, I'm coming for you. I'm gonna do all the things you're doing, and he's like, good. And by the time you get there, I'll already be gone.
Exactly.
I'll already be ahead, you know? So if you're
Exactly.
chasing me, like I'm already winning because you're, so I just thought that was a really cool perspective. And that's, you know, that's the, oh, you know, how much do you give away in the beginning? And I feel the more experienced, more successful entrepreneurs, unanimously lean on the side of give it all, because the magic isn't in the IP. It's very useful, very helpful, but only maybe 1 or 2% of the market will take it, implement it. But that person's still iterating, and the magic is really in the execution and the application. And that's why working with someone like yourself, Simon, that's constantly executing, constantly iterating, that's where the magic is. And so the frameworks are really, whoa, this is kind of like proof or affirmation that this person is, you know, he's got some thought behind this. You know, he's actually doing this. He's not just saying words or headlines, but there's some substance there. Hey, I appreciate you sharing this and the background. So, you know, you worked at a high level, you know, different environment, different industry where there's all kinds of higher demands, and I could see how that played into your story of bringing this to market. And you're very process driven. You're like, here's how you solve problem through process. Let me tell you this, anyone listening, watching, you want Simon to be your best friend. I've noticed a pattern. There's the visionaries and the entrepreneurs that might be great at, you know, communicating idea and allocating time, you know, or allocating, you know, people and resources. But the businesses that are strong and grow year after year after year there's the Steve Wozniak to the Steve Jobs. There's all those other examples of that operator mind, that process mind that's laser focused on iterating, just like Simon is describing. Those are the people that it doesn't surprise me, Simon, when you're like, oh yeah, that was the first year, 70% open rate. But now we're even higher and we're continuing to iterate. And I was like, this guy's solid. So anyway, highlighting that for people to capture there. So, hey, before we get to the last question, Simon, it appears that strategysprints.com is the best place if there are people that are leaning in, they want some more Simon, is this the best place to go?
Yes, strategysprints.com. On X, I am Simon Severino. On YouTube, I am Simon Severino. But the most info is on strategysprints.com. And to really reinforce what you just said, the one thing you can rely on when you're building businesses is your systems. As soon as you have something that works, put it on repeat, because systems are your friend. As you said, systems should be really your best friends, because they will be there for you when stuff gets hard. Your goals, they don't help you when you need help. Your goals are only
So true.
helpful when you are high energy and high motivation. But what do you do in a week where everything goes wrong? This is the week where systems will keep you at the minimum level, at the standard that you have created. And over time, over years, and I say it as a sprinter, but life is a series of sprints. It's not just one sprint, it's a long series of sprints. And so you want to be in the game long enough to beat your competitor, to see them go insolvent and still play the game and become better and better and better, because this will happen when you stay long enough in the game. But you can only stay long enough in the game if, as soon as you solve something, you put it on repeat, you make it a system, you have it work while you sleep, and then you tackle the next problem. This is how you build a business.
There's growth, there's leverage there. It's so powerful. And just a shout out on your book as well. I saw that in the video, available on Amazon, and I'm sure probably, you know, many other places. But just to go deeper into your world, you know, I think about when it comes to systems, because I am not naturally a systems person by default. Think, you know, more of the visionary by all the profiles. That's what they told me. But that also kind of put me in the hospital years ago. And so, because as business grew, I just couldn't outrun it. It crushed me, and my body was lying. You know, I had ulcers, and my heart stopped working properly. I was like, all right, let's go ahead and look into the business operating system. I think I need some new skills and new thoughts because what I'm doing is not working. And talking to other, business owners, entrepreneurs, it's like, imagine not having a sprinkler system. Imagine not having a dishwasher. Imagine not having a washer or a dryer.
Wash machine, yeah.
Yeah. What are those? Those are systems that allow us to just throw our clothes in the thing and press play versus going to the river with a bar of soap and a washboard and getting out. I mean, imagine if you had to do it. But that's what we do in our business with all types of systems. In fact, as I'm saying this, I'm thinking about one system that I've been doing for a while in my own business. And I'm like, why have I not made SOPs for that yet? I shouldn't be doing that. And when we say yes, and when we focus and put, a little bit of investment and time in, like you're saying, Simon, then we get to build the next one and the next one. And then more things happen in a day than we could ever do on our own. And that leverage grows. That's so powerful. This is what I like to end with. Anyone that puts themselves out there to create, to write, create, innovate, and communicate is interesting to me. These are musicians, these are actors, these are athletes, these are entrepreneurs, and people that it's a vulnerable place to put yourself out there. And you're somebody that has done that not only for a year or 2 years, but over 2 decades. The rejection's built in, but yet you continue to persevere. Why? Why, Simon, do you keep doing this and keep putting yourself out there to serve others?
Because it's fun. The only thing that interests me really is having fun. I want to enjoy the process. So I want to enjoy this hour, this day, this week. Yes, I have a vision for 3 years, and it's even written down. But that's not so important. Important is really enjoying the hour, the day, and the week. That's why I do it. So one of the exercises that I do is, what's my ideal week? It was made popular by one of my clients, Ali Abdal, because he started to sharing it on his YouTube channel. It became quite popular. So in the ideal week, you ask yourself, if you're a billionaire, how does your next week look like? And you design it. And then you create a calendar. In my case, it's a Google Calendar that looks exactly like that. And then bit by bit, month by month, year by year, you bring more congruence between your ideal week and your actual week. So if you say, okay, my meetings, I want all my meetings to be Friday afternoon. Now, when people ask you for a meeting, you will start scheduling them on a Friday afternoon. After half a year, you probably are near to your ideal week. Then you start delegating some operations. Then you start delegating some marketing. Usually the last bit people delegate is sales. And then you have your ideal week because you can do whatever you want. Now I am there. I'm in financial freedom. I can do whatever I want. The business works well even when I am on vacation. And guess what's the most fun thing to do for me? It is meeting cool cats. It is hanging out with cool people, tackling exciting problems like, what does it mean to do sales in the digital age? What's the new marketing? How can we scale without adding people? How can AI make our relationships more human because it takes away all the boring stuff, all the technical stuff from us? These are exciting questions. So when I wake up in the morning, I want to explore those questions. And I want to do this with cool people that inspire me and that give some energy back also when I share something. That's my ideal week. And it happens to be the life of a digital entrepreneur, a digital creator. So it fits.
It fits. It works. Well, Simon, that said, thank you for being awesome and showing up today in a powerful way, freely offering and serving, our community and our audience with the 3 keys to double revenue in the next 90 days for them. And then also all the resources at strategysprints.com that they can download and look at and practice and implement. So I really appreciate you spending that time and coming on today.
Thank you, Chris, for doing this and for showing up with consistency for your community.
Appreciate it. Hey, and thank you for your time and attention that we value oh so greatly, where we talk about real entrepreneurs getting real results. And today we got to get into some real process and real frameworks that will move the needle forward for you. Anything that you can measure as, dialed in, as Simon articulated, hey, we can focus on that number getting higher and higher and making it better and better each and every day. So you can live the life that you know that you're called to live. So all that type of great content you can expect to see it on the spotlight here, and we've got more coming for you. So we'll see you guys next time.